Hello, I am Admiral Rachel Levine, the Assistant Secretary for Health at the United States Department of Health and Human Services. I am so pleased to welcome you to this year's celebration of National Adolescent Health Month. Experience has shown us how important it is to focus on the strengths and potential of our nation's young people. It is also essential that we collectively recognize the crucial role of caring adults, parents, and professionals that provide the environments and supports that help young people grow and thrive in a healthy way. On our Office of Population Affairs website, opa.hhs.gov, we are sharing resources each week during May to help you support the adolescents that you work with here at Lab. This information will track our 4 weekly themes. 1. Expand sexual and reproductive health information and services. 2. Promote self-care to support mental health. 3. Celebrate the ways that communities support youth. And 4. Equip adults with the resources that they need to support adolescent health. Expand sexual and reproductive health information and services. Expand sexual and reproductive health information and services.
President-elect Biden has chosen Pennsylvania Health Secretary Dr. Rachel Levine to be Assistant Secretary of Health. Mr. Biden said Dr. Levine will bring steady leadership and the essential expertise that is needed. She would be the first openly transgender federal official if confirmed by the U.S. Senate. Lauren Cristella of the Committee of 70 praised Biden's choice.
The moment is nothing short of historic. Dr. Levine has proven a trustworthy leader here in Pennsylvania, and her deep knowledge and expertise and experience battling the coronavirus here in Pennsylvania will be invaluable to the nation.
Dr. Levine was a pediatrician and Pennsylvania physician general before becoming the Commonwealth's health secretary. Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf tweeted his congratulations, writing, "Dr. Levine has been a wise, calm, and dedicated partner during this pandemic, and I couldn't be prouder of the tireless work she's done to serve Pennsylvanians. She will be missed, but I know she will be a tremendous leader at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services."
I received the COVID-19 vaccine.
Admiral Rachel Levine is busy leading our country's response to COVID-19 and other health issues as Assistant Secretary of Health. Before that, she was a longtime pediatrician and leader of Pennsylvania's health department. Admiral Levine has attracted global attention, not just because she's dedicated so much of her time to helping others heal, but because of her history-making moves.
I was confirmed twice more.
She's the nation's highest-ranking openly transgender official ever confirmed by the U.S. Senate.
On this vote, the yeas are 52, the nays are 48. The nomination is confirmed.
And the first openly transgender 4-star officer.
I am proud to follow in my father's footsteps and 2 of my uncles' footsteps in serving this great nation.
Aside from her role protecting the public's health, Admiral Levine says she has another duty that's just as critical: protecting those who are transgender and encouraging other leaders to do the same.
I am speaking out publicly, vocally, frequently. The Secretary has spoken out. The Surgeon General has spoken out. Our President and Vice President have spoken out about this issue. So we continue that public
advocacy, but also demanding action like she did at the state level. Here's Admiral Levine standing by Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf as he signed an executive order banning gender expression or sexual orientation discrimination for all state employees and contractors.
I am very grateful to be celebrating Transgender Day of Visibility here at the White House.
For Admiral Levine, this is clearly personal. She's consistently attacked and mocked online, even during her confirmation hearing, all because she's transgender.
Well, what I worry about with the challenges that I've faced in my confirmation and other challenges is not that it affects me personally. I am very able to compartmentalize those issues and then to sublimate those challenges into my work. What I worry about is what it means especially for young people. And so I think that what it does is spur me to work harder.
Admiral Levine says her role is a reminder of what's possible, but is complicated by politics. More than a dozen states are attempting to pass laws targeting those who are transgender, from participation in sports to limiting health care.
What do you say to the people who don't share your views when it comes to gender?
I want to educate them that LGBTQI+ people, transgender people are everyone else. We are working for the common good. That's what I'm trying to do in my role as the Assistant Secretary for Health, and just trying to help people. And hopefully with that education, they will fear less. And I think if they fear the unknown less, then that will help them on their role towards tolerance, acceptance, and really developing a welcoming environment. We are making strides towards improvement.
Even with the mounting issues, Admiral Levine says she remains hopeful it will get better for those who are transgender.
We continue to face challenges, and we will continue to face and rise up to meet those challenges.
I'm Lorenzo Hall, WUSA 9.
All right, we're proud to share with you that WUSA 9 is a media sponsor of this year's Capitol Pride. So come on out, see us at the parade and the festival. You can find all the details. Just go to WUSA9.com/Pride Matters. Now, I know it's late and you're tired, but I know your phone is right by you. So take it, scan the QR code on your screen, and we'll text you back with a link to all you need to know.
Genital mutilation has been nearly universally condemned. Genital mutilation has been condemned by the WHO, the United Nations Children's Fund, the United Nations Population Fund. According to the WHO, genital mutilation is recognized internationally as a violation of human rights. Genital mutilation is considered particularly egregious because, as the WHO notes, it is nearly always carried out on minors and is a violation of the rights of children. Most genital mutilation is not typically performed by force, but as WHO notes, that by social convention, social norm, the social pressure to conform, to do what others do and have been doing, as well as the need to be accepted socially and the fear of being rejected by the community. American culture is now normalizing the idea that minors can be given hormones to prevent their biological development of their secondary sexual characteristics. Dr. Levine, you have supported both allowing minors to be given hormone blockers to prevent them from going through puberty, as well as surgical destruction of a minor's genitalia. Like surgical mutilation, hormonal interruption of puberty can permanently alter and prevent secondary sexual characteristics. The American College of Pediatricians reports that 80 to 95% of prepubertal children with gender dysphoria will experience resolution by late adolescence if not exposed to medical intervention and social affirmation. Dr. Levine, do you believe that minors are capable of making such a life-changing decision as changing one's sex?
Well, Senator, thank you for your interest in this question. Transgender medicine is a very complex and nuanced field with robust research and standards of care that have been developed. And if I am fortunate enough to be confirmed as the Assistant Secretary of Health, I look forward to working with you and your office and coming to your office and discussing the particulars of the standards of care for transgender medicine.
The specific question was about minors. Let's be a little more specific since you evaded the question. Do you support the government intervening to override the parent's consent to give a child puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and/or amputation surgery of breasts and genitalia? You have said that you are willing to accelerate the protocols for street kids. I'm alarmed that poor kids with no parents who are homeless and distraught, you would just go through this and allow that to happen to a minor. I would hope that you would have compassion for Kira Bell, who's a 23-year-old girl who was confused with her identity. At 14, she read on the internet about something about transsexual. She thought, well, maybe that's what I am. She ended up getting these puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones. She had her breast amputated. But here's what ultimately she says now. And this is a very insightful decision from someone who made a mistake but was led to believe this was a good thing by the medical community. I made a brash decision as a teenager, as a lot of teenagers do, trying to find confidence and happiness. Except now the rest of my life will be negatively affected, she said, adding that the medicalized gender transitioning was a very temporary, superficial fix to a very complex identity issue. What I'm alarmed at is that you're not willing to say absolutely minors shouldn't be making decisions to amputate their breast or to amputate their genitalia. For most of our history, we have believed that minors don't have full rights and that parents need to be involved. So I'm alarmed that you won't say with certainty that minors should not have the ability to make the decision to take hormones that will affect them for the rest of their life. Will you make a more firm decision on whether or not minors should be involved in these decisions?
Senator, transgender medicine is a very complex and nuanced field, and if confirmed to the position of Assistant Secretary of Health, I would certainly be pleased to come to your office and talk with you and your staff about the standards of care and the complexity of this field.
Let it go into the record that the witness refused to answer the question. The question is a very specific one. Should minors be making these momentous decisions? For most of the history of medicine, we wouldn't let you have a cut sewn up in the ER. But you're willing to let a minor take things that prevent their puberty, and you think they get that back? You give a woman testosterone enough that she grows a beard, you think she's going to go back looking like a woman when you stop the testosterone? You have permanently changed them. Infertility is another problem. None of these drugs have been approved for this. They're all being used off-label. I find it ironic that the left that went nuts over hydroxychloroquine being used possibly for COVID are not alarmed that these hormones are being used off-label. There's no long-term studies. We don't know what happens to them. We do know that there are dozens and dozens of people who've been through this who regret that this happened and a permanent change happened to them. And, you know, if you've ever been around children, 14-year-olds can't make this decision. In the gender dysphoria clinic in England, 10% of the kids are between the ages of 3 and 10. We should be outraged that someone's talking to a 3-year-old about changing their sex.
Thank you so much, Senator Paul. Senator Levine, thank you for answering the question. I will turn to Senator Baldwin.
Well, you yield time to anybody on Mr. Crenshaw, I reckon.
My colleague, and I want to say a few things first. We keep hearing this is a politicized issue. This is a manufactured culture war. I got to say, we aren't the ones who did that. We aren't the ones that came up with this radical new movement that is performing permanent physiological changes to children with no evidence of any benefits. We didn't start that. We're just trying to stop it because it's crazy. It's a contentious issue, which almost 70% of Americans oppose. So we are just saying here that taxpayer money shouldn't be used for it. That's all. It should not be that controversial of an issue. The questions are for Dr. McNamara. I just want to ask you, honestly, you're not concerned about the unknown effects of puberty blockers, hormones, and surgical interventions in kids, long-term effects, not concerned about that?
Everything I've said here today comes from a place of deep honesty and conviction for the care that I provide and the community that I'm a part of.
You've said that we've cherry-picked data. How do you mean that? How do you mean that?
So it is very unscientific and flawed to pick a single study or a single statistic and to discuss it in isolation.
Totally agree.
Medical experts are able to talk about all of the evidence as a whole.
Totally agree. So it's good to look at systematic reviews, right? That's the gold standard of evidence when you're trying to understand whether something works or whether it doesn't. So the British Journal of Medicine looked at 61 systematic reviews with the conclusion that, quote, there is great uncertainty about the effects of puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries in young people. Journal of Endocrine Society came up with the same conclusion, even the American Academy of Pediatrics. They all cite the lack of evidence. So here's the thing. If you're doing a therapy, and it's, temporary, whatever, fine, maybe let's try it, let's see if it works. But when you're talking about permanent physiological changes, do you not agree, just from an ethical standpoint, that you might want extremely strong evidence of the benefits? And there is no systematic review that states that there is strong evidence of benefits.
Sir, are you aware of how the quality evidence grading system works and how it's applied?
Yeah, we read through it. That's why I'm citing these journals. So which journal says something different? We should have that debate. Tell me a journal that has done systematic reviews that cites different evidence, that cites strong evidence for benefits of these therapies.
The standards of care were developed based on extensive...
You're not telling me any journal, you're not telling me any study. Don't say standards of care.
Yeah. So,
tell me one.
The standards of care.
That's the standards of care. That's not a journal, that's not a study. That's not an organization, that's not an institution. You're just saying words. Name one study.
Yeah.
I'm out of time. I yield back.
The gentleman's time has expired. Mr. Dunn yields back.
The bill will also make clear that Title IX prohibits men from participating in women's sports, and we will protect the rights of parents from being forced to allow their minor child to assume a gender which is new and an identity without the parents' consent. The identity will not be new, and it will not be without parental consent. No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today. It was all when the radical left invented it just a few years ago. Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank you very much. I plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this? I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It will go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable. We will also investigate whether Big Pharma or others have illegally marketed hormones and puberty blockers which are in no way licensed or approved for this use. My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for sex discrimination and the elimination of federal funding. As part of our new credentialing body for teachers, we will promote positive education about the nuclear family, the roles of mothers and fathers, and celebrating rather than erasing the things that make men and women different and unique. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth.